What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to the Copway Podcast and Pod and a Pint, episode 16. I'm Mick Moran, joined by, as you can see, Paul Machin. How are you doing, lad?
Yes, good. Finally managed to get me in.
Nice.
You've been trying for
in
months.
Yeah.
And I've been very rude, but now we're here, so all's well that ends well.
Yeah, nice one, lad. But yeah, in Shenanigans, as always, got on the Guinness. Paul's on the Blue Moon. Looks very nice, actually.
Yeah, it's funny because there will be people watching who immediately go, Blue Moon, like there's some sort of deep Manchester City connection to it, as opposed to the fact that that is a lot more organic and tasty and probably ultimately good for you in the long term than anything associated with Manchester City.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, how's things? It's a lovely day today. So, what have you been up to?
Yeah, good. Actually, kind of not loads, but also loads. So we're in that weird stage at the moment where everyone's kind of getting their heads around the fact that Liverpool are going to win the league. Yeah. So it means you can actually plan ahead. And to be fair, you know, last time we won it, we were in that state as well. I mean, we were planning things in January, going, well, this is going to happen, obviously. And then, of course, a global pandemic hit. I've got one eye on like news feeds whenever I see things about like troop movements and stuff, and whatever Trump's up to. I do get a little like flutter there, of like, oh God. So no, we're content-wise, it's been a bit more low-key the last week or two, but like trying to get stuff planned has been a very much part of the focus. Like.
Yeah, massively. And before we get stuck into Everton, which we will, obviously in a big way, in every way, every kick. Opening question, and I think this is from Chippy. Apologies, I think it was. Quite broad, quite generic, and I don't know if he asked this exactly. And I think maybe I turned it into this to make it a bit more open-ended. But top five favourite games, video games ever.
So you've given me a full 60 seconds warning on this as a thing, and I said it's a very big question.
Yeah, it's very big.
I rewatched Scott Pilgrim recently, and I said, what do you play?
Class.
It's a big question. That is a big question.
Yeah.
Top five favourite games. I would say Metal Gear Solid, Tony Hawk's 3.
Delta.
Yeah. Probably one of the SmackDown games.
Yeah.
On the this is mainly PS2
stuff,
of course. But just to bring it slightly more up to date, The Last of Us, and probably the PlayStation, the Sony Spider-Man game that came out about 4 years ago now. Oh, I've missed Doom. Oh no, told you it's too broad. too big. Oh yeah, okay. Chuck Spider-Man. I'll put any of the Doom games in there, and then you've probably got me there. Like.
Yeah, because I think around
PES 6.
That's PES. Like earlier PESs, like back in the day, were just like Adriano 99 shot power.
100%.
Them days, just unmatched. I don't think.
I had an entire YouTube channel dedicated to
just
doing that back in the day. Great time.
Yeah, I just love playing this. Let's just make a YouTube channel to dedicate playing it. Yeah, it's fair play. I'd do the exact same if I could. But yeah, a few that I just thought of straight away, like stuff like that, like Crash, obviously, like Crash Bandicoot back in the day, just like belter. But I look like more, I'd say maybe the last 15 years or whatever, like Halo, I love Assassin's Creed, all that type of stuff. But yeah, PES, just GoldenEye back in the day, N64.
100%. Yeah, it's funny because I was saying to you, like the 360 and the PS3 era were when I had to become an adult. So like that was the PS3 era. It was the first time I didn't have the console when it came out, and it was years later when I finally picked one up, when I could finally afford one because I had to buy it myself by that point. So yeah, that generation I'm not as up on, but more recent stuff I absolutely am. Fortnite's probably the thing me and my lad play more than anything else. Fortnite and Rocket League. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, my nephew's into that. He's like just constantly streaming on TikTok, like Rocket League. I'm just every time I go on TikTok and he's on there.
Rocket League is a belter of a game.
Is it? Yeah. I'm just watching it going. It's. I'm sure it's a lot more skilled than it looks. Just like watching it happen.
Yeah. I mean, there's moments in that where it's like it's so footy like in the bit that someone will put a ball across the box. And you'll come steaming in your car, and you physically tense up like you're gonna go and nod it in yourself. That's a bit. Me and my son had some big moments on that.
Yeah, belter. All right, then let's get stuck from Rocket League into footy. Why not?
Premier League.
Yeah. There you go. That's why you're a professional, and I'm not. There's exhibit 1 so far. We'll count them up as we go.
You can have that segment.
Everton, 12 points clear, 8 left to play, 4 to win it, essentially. Obviously, it's 13 points to win it, technically, but 4 should do it. And I want to, not bang the drum, but I want to keep saying that this is Arne Slot's first season.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to forget that sometimes with all the other stuff going on around it, like people saying it's the worst season ever, and like all this shit, blah blah blah.
It's
all that outside shit that you don't want to listen to. But like, I think it's worth remembering that only 5 managers have won it in the first season.
Yeah.
Only 4, sorry, and Slot will be the 5th if he does it.
But and even in general, there's not many managers who've won the Premier League.
Yeah, exactly.
At all.
11 apparently.
Yeah, you know, when you think about it, you know, and it's funny that there's like, if he goes on to do it, we will technically have had 3 of them, although only 2 of them will have won it at Liverpool. I totally agree on that, and it's weird because it can work both ways. It can kind of go whichever argument you're looking for, because I still adore Jurgen Klopp, and I'm still a little bit heartbroken that he's not going to be the one to lead us to this title. Yeah. But I have there's a spiritual connection there whereby it's basically his team, it's his cohort of players that he assembled, he trained, he brought up, with so much of his style still ingrained in the side as well. That in some regards you can use that against Slot. Yeah. But then when you flip it around and say he's inherited another guy's squad and he's doing this, and in some regards that's kind of what Klopp did. You know, Klopp came in and took Brendan Rodgers' side because he came in during the season, had no chance to bolster it at all, and took a side that was struggling to 2 cup finals that year, and then above and beyond in the years that followed. So no, I think it does get talked down, and this whole talking down of the league all of a sudden, it only happens when Liverpool win it. Yeah. Honestly, no one ever has these conversations when any other football team wins the league. Yeah,
I mean it is funny, isn't it? Like, just because what's happened with everyone expecting the drop off with Slot coming in, Klopp leaving, and it not happening, and it's like, oh, what can we blame? Let's blame everything else.
No, but it's because people get so set in these ideas and like their notions, and rather than accept that they were wrong, they try to create excuses for why they were wrong. It wasn't them that was wrong; it was the world that was wrong instead. Stupid example of it, but I remember scoring overhead kicks was always a bit of a thing I used to do in foot. It was a bit of a party piece. But I was a goalkeeper, so obviously I didn't get in the position very often. So it was double impressive the times when I managed to do it. But people would always go, instead of going, oh, it's something Paul's good at, it would be, oh, well, he must have gone down to tie his laces and then he's fallen out. You know what I mean? Like, people create excuses for things that they can't quite wrap their head around. And loads of people nailed the colours to the mast in the summer and said Liverpool would struggle. And I've basically been trying to find reasons to justify that crap take. Ever since.
Yeah, and it makes, I just love looking back and just seeing all the stuff, like obviously Gary Neville and stuff, and Callaghan never lets him live it down, does he, to be fair, which, why would you? But let's talk about the actual game a little bit then, because firstly I just wanted to get straight in there. Referee.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
What's going on there? Do you know what I mean?
Paul Tompkins has done some brilliant work this season about sort of refereeing, whether it's biases or incompetences, just overriding crapness, I think is the way to put it. Liverpool don't get their fair share of basically refereeing decisions, and you know what we saw with the David Coote stuff was that there is, particularly for him, a huge bias there. You know, whether it was towards Klopp or towards Liverpool in general, and I think there was a little part of me that when Klopp left, I thought, I wonder whether this will be it now. We'll get our fair share, because maybe it was Klopp. Maybe they just all hated Klopp. Yeah. No, it isn't. It's a wider thing, and I'm not saying it's a specific, necessarily Liverpool bias, but maybe what Liverpool are. And I called it on a post-match video after the derby, a 2-tier refereeing system, is that they are allowing Everton they're reffing Everton differently to Liverpool. Everton are being ref like old school, good old fashioned British underdogs, you know, like the dogs of war thing come back to life again. And Liverpool are being a ref like a tiki-taka passing side. You know, if you foul, then it's because you didn't know what you were doing. Yeah. Whereas like when you fouled for Everton, it was a good legitimate attempt to play the ball. Tarkovsky being the prime culprit of that. So yeah, I thought the referee, I think it was his first, he's only new, he's a relatively new referee, and what I'm told, It was his first game at Anfield, too big for him, and then Tierney on VAR, just incompetent.
Yeah, just absolutely. It was just baffling to watch, especially like you said, like 11 minutes in, that happens with the Tarkowski thing, and you're watching it, like when it happens straight away, like looks like a bad one, but then you see the replays, and obviously it looks worse, and you slow down replays and all that. But the way he goes through the ball, the expression on his face, he's going for it full-blooded, and then the way it's like a 5-6 seconds check from Tierney. It's like, play on lads, and it's like.
Because he decided that it wasn't the mistake from the referee, wasn't clear and obvious.
Yeah,
to from yellow to a red, and you know the best barometer of this all for me is if Duncan Ferguson's telling the world that he thought it was a red card, then God, it was probably 5 red cards, because that man was the living embodiment of too much, too far on a football pitch.
Stefan Freund knew all about that, didn't he?
God, yeah, you know, punch people, you know, everything. He was a throwback Duncan even at the time.
Yeah.
So if he's going, a bit much that, then it was well too.
Yeah. And the thing is, well, because it's so early in the game, like the like ramifications of that, like so early on, they've then essentially got 80 minutes to play with 10 men. Their only outlet was Beto, and he done alright, to be fair, because he's big, he's strong, he's fast. Moyes had obviously told him, just stay up there, we'll play the long balls to you. But if you take away that extra man, they either go, right, we're going to stick now 10 behind the ball and have none up for it there, or we're going to go keep him up there still.
I must admit, it wasn't perhaps the worst thing for the game.
Yeah.
They kept 11 men on the pitch in that regard, because I do think they'd have just gone completely in the shells.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not sure how much more in their shells they could go. They did nothing in the game other than, as you say, some hopeful punts up the pitch, which I thought Beto, you're right, it handled pretty well, and made it a bit of a torrid first half, certainly for Van Dijk and a little bit for Konate. But yeah, they should have just been down to 10. That's the reality of it. And the thing is, in a derby, when you do that, but this has been happening in derbies for years. It's mad that it's actually a player like Tarkowski, because normally it's these players who haven't got that in their locker, trying to live up to some sort of mad, heroic Evertonian violence code, and making tits of themselves, like Barkley doing it, Tom Davies doing it, Jack Rodwell would be in those kind of situations, because he'd be like, get themselves all pumped up.
Morion, Origi, just stuff like that, where
bollocks, like
crazy. Yeah, it's just like, it is mad, isn't it? Because they get pumped up to a level where they want to like replicate what the fans want, isn't it? But it's always OTT and above and beyond, which, and like saw bits from Joey Barton going, good old-fashioned tackle. I was like, for 15, 20 years ago, the game's moved on, do you know what I mean? It's changing, it's a red card all day, every day, which is just, well, like I said, the first half wasn't a great spectacle, really. I don't think the whole game was. Second half was definitely better. But yeah, 57 minutes, Jota gets the goal, and I don't know what you were thinking, like in the ground, but I didn't get the ticket to the game last night, but I was thinking, I was at the point where I was like, maybe it's time to bring Jota off. And then he just steps up and goes, that's why he's been kept on. Because in those moments where you need someone to be cool in the box, that's exactly what he's capable of.
It's what he does, you know. It's funny, I called him on my video on Redmen, like the king of clutch, which I've done before, by the way, and no one batted an eyelid when I've done it in previous games. This one, it was like, he was rubbish against PSG. I'm sorry, he's become a little bit of a figure that for like, I don't hate's a bit strong, but everyone, there's a group of football fans who have got a lot of space in their lives for hate, and they've always got to have a player they don't really like it at any given moment. And look, for most people, that's Darwin Núñez. He draws that a lot, and how much he annoys you, there's a scale of how much Darwin Núñez does your head in. But what I've seen in recent weeks is people going, well, yeah, Darwin, but if Darwin had been missing the things that Jota had been missing, imagine the stick he'd be getting. Actually, so almost it's gone like, should we be giving Jota more stick and more hate? And the answer's no, just let him get fit, because he's clearly not been the same player since he got back from the injury. I'd love to know, and obviously Slot was very, almost like medical in his, we can't release his medical records type of approach to talking about his injury. He's clearly not been right, he's clearly been miles off it, but you're dead right, he is one of the, between him and Salah, and I probably still would give it to Jota, even though the numbers don't stack up between the two of them. If you said, here's a moment where you just need a cool, calm head inside the 18-yard box, I probably would still give it to Jota.
Yeah, because getting especially links, his ability to be cool in those moments, I think, is it plugs into his ability to stay fit, because he's constantly, I find, like, well, from the numbers and what he's showing on the pitch and what his availability, he's constantly trying to battle to get himself back up to that level, and then he has a few good games and he breaks down again, and he's just constantly swinging between those two levers, isn't he?
And stylistically, I'm not sure we've quite figured out how to play with the centre forward, because your main focal point is Salah, because it has to be, because he scores so many goals, and then obviously depending on who you use on the left hand side, I think, you know, Gakpo, I think, is more of just a goal scorer on that side, whereas Diaz is all work rate, but maybe he dovetails a little bit better with Jota to some degree. But it's been hard. It's been hard for anyone to play centre forward for Liverpool this season, and you know, Jota's been through that goal drought. But you have to remind yourself that sometimes at the best of times, and go, when everything's working for him, when he's fit and he's on it. Most of us, you know, in the first half of the season, would have had him in the best 11 for Liverpool. And I think, hopefully, I said it to Chris when we were driving to the game, I said, Jota's doing people's heads in, but you know what you're going to get from Jota. He's either going to not score another goal for the rest of the season, or he'll score 5.
Yeah.
And obviously, that was the first one. Maybe hopefully it's the first of at least another clutch of goal.
Yeah, well, we need him to do that, don't we, on the way. And you mentioned Diaz there, and I thought, he was, I mean, early in the season when he was playing as a 9, if you want, he was doing like good things, and he's had maybe up and down periods. Like I think most of the forward line have, obviously apart from Salah, has been unbelievable up until maybe the last couple of games. But he's allowed a few off games from being incredible. But I thought Diaz was energetic, and he was showing that willingness and fight throughout the whole game.
Well, I think I definitely said this about a month ago, of just saying I think he's fine as a 9. You know, I think he's got a lot of those attributes. He's great on the ball. He holds it up for you really well. And actually, he is surprisingly good in front of goal. I think it's an underrated quality of his. But his best work is done out wide, because he's a winger, and I adore watching him there, because he gets the scrap and he gets the battle and he gets to make life hard for the players that are around him. I just think that's a much harder job to do from centre forward position. It really, really is. So it is another one that I think the system's hung him out to dry a bit, and that, you know, a real hot streak at the start of the season, and then it actually worked out almost for Slot, because I think he wants Gakpo in the team. I think he really, really wants him in the team. So actually being able to move Diaz inside, went, right, I can play these now, and this will work. But it ended up being that he played Diaz out of form doing it. And that's tough with having two similar level sort of guys on that left-hand side, to be honest. So I'm made up. I thought he was probably our best player in the derby, and I think even in the last few weeks where we've not been great, I think he's probably been vying for that position as well, because he just wants it. Yeah. And actually, that's exactly the kind of player that you need in your team, even when you're not absolutely flying. Yeah, you need that ability to, willingness to fight, isn't it? Like in those games, especially in derby games, you need it. But I was having a look at the stats, and obviously, stats in a derby, like, be arsed, but like I was quite interested. Like we only had 3 shots on target, but it's one of them that, who gives a fuck? It's one of them. As long as one of them 3 goes in, that was the main thing. And I think going into this game, we knew it was going to be a dogfight with Moyes being back 9 unbeaten, and all that stuff was coming into it. So we knew it was going to be difficult with long balls and balls into channels and all that. But getting over the line was is massive. You just got to look at where they were. There was a point, and I was watching it particularly in the first half, because there was so little. Obviously, I'm in the Kop. There was so little going on at our end of the pitch. That you just got to have to kind of soak it all in. And they just had 10 men between the width of the 18-yard box, from about a yard or 2 inside their box to basically just about the edge of the centre circle. Yeah. And that was it. They just controlled that middle area of the pitch, and they just said to Liverpool, go on, play it wide, and then cool, you've played it wide. Like, Salah's lifting his head up, and there's 3 men between him and basically the 18-yard box, which is where he wants to be. You've got Curtis Jones on that side, who I thought was good, but it's disjointed because there's no understanding there, no natural understanding of where each one's supposed to go. Gravenberch's pushing up and trying to help him. So we were doing a lot of very side-to-side stuff, and that's what it comes down to. You just need a moment sometimes. Those games, you've seen that game, I've seen that game. It's not always Everton, but you pick the name Burnley, Stoke. Yeah. You know, countless of these teams, West Brom used to do it, where you need a moment of brilliance, a moment of luck, a moment of magic, something above and beyond to get yourself that one goal. If you don't blast them away early doors, that's what the game can become. It becomes a war of attrition. So yeah, you're right. I mean, look, we won the XG. It's weird because I think something like 0.4 of it is Canate's header in the first half, which like in my eyes is nowhere near a chance. But it makes connection with it. It's dead centre on the edge of the 6-yard box, so it counts towards it. So yeah, not Vince, but it's a derby. It's about derbies are about feelings more than about how you go about achieving them.
Yeah, that was the one where Denny's on the deck and then Tarkowski's like leaning on his like ankle or something. Proper meathead, isn't he? But yeah, we get over the line, we get the win, and like I said, we're that much closer to number 20, and I just want to keep saying that because it just rolls off the tongue really nice.
I can't wrap my head around it, I really can't.
That's what I mean, it's just trying to like, I think because having like a gap, I was saying this to Christian today, like having like playing every 3 days, which we were, and then you'd have a break, like an international break, and you can kind of like, not reminisce, but like you can think about how good the season's been going so far, and you can go, well, we're playing really well, like, but you want to get back into it. It's only when you get to the end of the season you can properly like have the overlook and like the being able to reminisce on it.
And I think that I wanted us to win more silverware because I want us to win everything Liverpool are in all the time. You know, if Liverpool were in a kickabout in a car park, I want them to win that as well. But I want this trophy above all others, and for me anyway, the other stuff was kind of getting in the way. And the thing about the League Cup was, you were going to get over that regardless because it was one final game. You either come away with the trophy or you don't, and therefore it would have been much better to have that piece of silverware banked. And look, nothing else, because there's going to be a big parade at the end of the season, and having 2 trophies for people to wave around just keeps them more engaged, keeps them hanging over the side of the bus a bit more photo opportunities. But there is a degree to which you can't help but go quadruple. And normally the second anyone talks quadruple, you get knocked out of the nearest cup competition, which is exactly what we do in the FA Cup. And then they go treble, and you go, okay, well, treble, yeah, why not? And then obviously, bang, bang, it's over and done. For me, it was a bit of a distraction. And you're right, this little extended break because of the next round of the FA Cup, meaning we didn't play at the weekend as well.
Mini holiday, as Gary Neville calls it.
Yeah, we all had a miniature retirement this last 2 and I certainly did. But yeah, it just meant, it put more pressure on the derby in its own way, but particularly now because that's won, I think everyone's now going, right, sound, the league, okay, cool, because there are no point in recriminations now, no point worrying about the Champions League. All I'm looking forward to now is that there's a game at the weekend, then there'll be a week, and then there'll be another game, and there'll be a week, and so much stuff is going to happen in those weeks as we're on the countdown, so yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, and then obviously going into Fulham on Sunday, like you said, there's a run of 5 games now, which is going to be every Sunday. Obviously that might change, but as you said, we've only got Premier League games to play for, which I think Slot referenced it today. He said you got asked the question like, how are you going to think you're going to fare like playing just every week? And it's like, judging on what we've been so far, we might not. It depends, because we've been in that period where we've been playing every 3 days, and obviously we've had a incredible season really so far, so it's hard to judge how we're going to react. But historically, usually, like especially under Klopp, we were a rhythm team, so every 3 days was perfect for us. So
yeah, and there's a couple of ways of looking at it, I guess, and the fact that we've got that big lead is going to be interesting psychologically to see how they pump themselves up for it. But Slot's a tactician, and all of a sudden he's got a week to look. And my slight concern was, and it works both ways, because I think we played the first half of the season, and the argument was, well, Slot's now had a look at everyone, but equally everyone's had a look at us. So you know, there's not loads of like things that managers can pull from and say this is how you beat Liverpool, because only one team done it in the league this season. But that will be the template. What Forest had done to us, bits of what PSG did to us, bits of what Newcastle did to us, bits of what the Everton tried in the derby, etc., etc. Slot's now got time to go again and actually flip them back. You know, tennis, people knocked it back over it. He gets to, you know, put a little bit of extra something back on the net going the other way. So that can work in our favour. I don't think it works in the favour of, let's say, Harvey Elliott or Federico Chiesa or Endo. If you were hoping for our last great, like, hurrah, this guy's going to come in and have a burning end to the season, the lack of games will probably hurt those chances, which might have a knock-on impact going into the summer. But again, just got to get the league won, and at least there's a bit of clear focus towards that.
Exactly, and then you mentioned, we've talked about Salah and we've talked about obviously Van Dijk and Trent. What are your thoughts on the contract stuff then? Because I haven't spoken to you about it, like in terms of Trent. It looks like Trent might be off, and then we still don't know about Salah and Van Dijk.
I'm wishing I'd had now. I nearly did it at one point, and I just ultimately couldn't be asked. Was to make an ongoing chart where like I moved faces up and down depending on where I thought of it, like a stock market type thing. Yeah. We used to have that format. We've not done that in a while, but at the moment, Trent just looks done. And I was on Football Focus last week with Stephen Warnock, and he was sort of not like dead certain that he thought Trent was going to stay, but he said, it's not obviously not done. Maybe there's still a chance. It just doesn't feel like anyone really wants him to stay. I would love him. I would very much love Trent to stay because I don't see any reason. My opinion is, if you are a Liverpool fan and you are good enough to play in the Premier League, you should be playing for Liverpool. Yeah. If you happen to be a generationally talented superstar, then absolutely you should build a team around people like that. But it's mad that it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel like Liverpool are moving heaven and earth in the same way. Rumours are that he's rejected several quite lucrative contracts from them, so maybe they are, but it doesn't feel anywhere near as desperate as like the Gerrard stuff back in the several times that kind of reared its head. So it feels like that's done, and I'm starting to make my peace with that a little bit. I don't think it's great. From a pure scouts perspective, I think it's a bit shit that someone from Liverpool doesn't want to use every ounce of his talent to make Liverpool the best.
Exactly.
And just from my own personal experience, I remember saying this when I originally created Redmen, pitched it to LFC TV and said, I can't play centre forward for Liverpool, but I can do this, and I think I can help you make your channel better with this kind of thing. I've got a skill set that I think could help you be better at what you want. That's all I wanted to do with it at the time. Now, of course, it never worked out that way, and I also don't know what would then happen if Sky Sports come to you and go, hey, would you like to take your format and do that in a bigger world? I think it's difficult to know how you would feel in those kind of situations. But anyway, I'm largely making a peace with him. I don't mind Scousers making good for themselves, but also it does feel weird to know that he doesn't feel like he can do that in the red shirt or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's because it's gone on for a while now. I think it's for me anyway. It's more like I'm resigned to it. I don't want it to happen, but because it's lingering on and the rumblings behind the scenes, and like Van Dijk and Salah have in maybe weirder ways have spoke about it, not obviously directly, indirectly, and they've made little hints towards it maybe that they might stay.
They've both been pretty clear that they want to stay. You know what I mean? Like they both love it. They both want, and you can see their career paths getting worse for leaving Liverpool.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Whereas that's the difference with Trent, isn't it, to some extent? So I mean, it's weird because my general overall attitude on it is that I think Michael Edwards is brilliant, and so if he's overseeing the operation, he's brought in Richard Hughes underneath, and he's brought in Arne Slot. From what I can see, I know Edwards is brilliant at what he does, and Arne Slot has basically proven himself. Richard Hughes hasn't really had the opportunity to prove himself yet, and people can make a hard and fast call on judge him in his ability based on that, based on a lack of activity. But I don't know. I'm an age and a level of experience and a degree of knowledge where there's people sort of paid to look after all that. I know what I would do, but I've also been doing this for 15 years, and I've been at the in the finger in the dam of misery at times for Liverpool fans. I've seen some wild opinions. I've seen some really intelligent ones from mad people and really intelligent people. It's mad how often people just get things wrong. The amount of times we go, it's got to be this, got to be this, got to be this, and they do something different. You go, that is stupid, and it works out like the best thing the best decision ever. So I'm a bit more sort of chill and laissez-faire. I think it would be stupid to let Van Dijk and Salah go, because I don't think there's anyone on the market better than them, or even in line to be better than them at the minute. But there is a little part that goes, I wonder if they're just doing this big reset, because that's what they did, what's what FSG did in the first couple of years after taking over. And I remember people calling it an asset strip, when we were letting Kite go and Mascherano go, and obviously Gerrard was allowed to retire elsewhere, and Carragher retired, and all these, and Pepe Reina went, and all the big earners of the football club, and who were the best players from that 2008-2009 team, got let go, and everyone's like, well, this is just stupid. But sometimes you've got to kind of chop it all back to build it again. So yeah, no idea how it'll work out, but I'm feeling quite calm at the moment. Maybe it's half a pint of Blue Moon.
It helps, doesn't it? It helps. I think maybe as well, like just on the trend bit before we finish up, is maybe having like someone as talented and indeed going forward how good he could be, Conor Bradley waiting in the wings, ready to come in. Obviously then we do need to go and sign another fullback as well, because obviously we can't be throwing Kwanzaa over there. We don't know what's going to happen with Joe Gomez going forward. Maybe he might want to leave, hopefully not. But yeah, what type of fullback do you reckon we'd go for, just to kind of fill that gap?
It's so mad, because if Bradley hadn't been injured and he just played this run of games, you know, leading into the end of the season, we get a real sense of just how good he is. Because the problem you've got is age. His age is a real issue, and it's a great problem to have. Yeah. But we had this with Trent, where, and Arsenal have got this with Saka now, where if you've got a guy who's so good that he's basically good enough to play in any game against any opposition, how do you buy support for that? Because you can't buy better. Because to buy better, you're talking like you've got to go and buy the best in the world to buy better than what you've already got. And then, even then, what you're going to do, you're going to stunt the growth of this. Exactly. Like, you already own this guy, you've got to make sure you continue their development. So I'm torn between, I wonder whether there's just someone out there who is a canny move, as opposed to, you know, like a
top move. Yeah, like a level 2, like obviously level 1, go for level 2 or 3.
And that's a dangerous game, because you start weakening your overall level.
Exactly, yeah, that's the problem.
Improving your first 11. There might be someone out there, because Bradley's so young, that you might be able to go and get someone who's 25, 26, who is actually in their prime, and then Bradley can continue his development underneath. Because let's be honest, Trent's 26, and Trent should be staying for another couple of 2 or 3 years or more, and Bradley would be allowed to develop that. So maybe you have to jury rig that and kind of make that work again. But I think we've seen the idea that Curtis Jones going to right back. I don't think Kwanzaa's what he's looking for in a right back. I think it needs to be someone who's more dynamic and better on the ball. So yeah, there was a very brief moment a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, well, look, Bradley plus Gomez plus Kwanzaa as your right back options, still better than a lot of what football clubs have got. But now I'm a little bit less sure on that. I think they probably do need to go and get someone good. I've no idea who that is, by the way. But
yeah, I mean, but there's plenty of links as always, isn't there? Especially like Newcastle interested in Kwanzaa last week. That came a bit out of nowhere, and it's like, if then he wants to leave for first team foot, then you've got to. Now it's on the right back, centre back, left back, centre mid, striker. Do you know what I mean?
And that's why the summer's mad, because and why almost like the Van Dijk and Salah things make it all worse. Because if you let them go, not only does it maybe signal a lack of ambition, whether that's true or not. You know, again, it's up to them to do what they want to do with the squad and what have you. But there'll be offers for Diaz, there'll be offers for Nunes. Simicast will surely be looking at his future. Konate's got contract coming up, you know, and there'll be a Harvey Elliott in there. It never happens en masse. You always think it's going to every summer, but this looks like you could see like 7 out. You know, in one summer, which is absolutely insane. So yeah, they do have to be canny with this, and there's probably a few lads there. Gomez is a good example of that. It probably is the right time for him to move on, but we probably shouldn't. Because it's just more, you're making more work for yourself if you do something like that.
Especially like a utility man like that who can fit in loads of gaps, and you having to find someone like that on top of all the other stuff that we potentially have to do is going to be, well, it's going to be a massive summer anyway, isn't it? So if you're adding that to the top of the pile, it's going to be even more tricky. All right, well, before we finish up, I've got a little funky game.
Is this
the Fireside thing?
Let me get my homework up for this one then.
Yeah, so I'm only starting it this week, but what I'm going to do going forward is every guest's going to if the name fits into the, I'm gonna have to give them a little nickname or something. So they have to have. Obviously, you fit perfectly, Paul M.
Yep.
So your Fireside team is PAULM.
Yeah.
So I think my next two after is also the same, and then it might get murky after that. I'm gonna have to call them like.
What's interesting in this, because this was ridiculously difficult what you asked me to do. I'm wondering whether Mach might have served me better, but like it's done now.
Oh shit! Yeah,
Doesn't matter. Paul M's fine. Yes, I did have to find the Liverpool player whose name began with U. Thanks for that, Mick.
Sorry. But then why? If he's done Mach?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. But,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I also didn't know you until I researched it. And I think there are, like, there's two footballers' surnames that begin with U.
Well, just to clarify, so it's Five-a-side team, but you're using your initials, and we're going to do worldwide, but I think it's funner and more tricky with Liverpool only.
Yeah.
So go on, lad, hit us with it.
Okay, so I had a few options in for P. I've settled. I thought the hipster's choice was going to be Gabriel Paletta, who had a much better career after Liverpool than he ever had during at Liverpool. Ended up as an Italian international, all that kind of stuff. I went with Nat Phillips.
Yeah.
So I've gone with Phillips. A, Alonso.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, you. Underwood. Dave Underwood. Never heard of him. Thank you, LFC history. Made 50 appearances in goal for Liverpool between 1953 and 1956. I've no idea if he was any good, but apparently Liverpool were very, very leaky, and he helped to make that slightly less of a thing, I believe. That was a real strike. But that also, no one's really got a clue about him, so I might get away with this because I realised you've got to fit a goalkeeper in somewhere,
yeah.
And my goalkeeper thing was going to have to come in. M was probably my best choice for a goalkeeper because I could have maybe had Mignolet in there. I think Mignolet and Manninger were like mad choices in that.
I thought, and I would have not begrudged you doing it. I thought you were going to go Alisson for A.
That would have. The problem is that I've got a little struggle for quality in areas of the places, so I needed to get some good footballers in there. Anyway, Dave Underwood. There's one for the great grandparents.
I'm sure someone will know. Let us know if he's any good. Sure he was.
Littmanen. It was a toss-up between Littmanen and Lallana.
Yeah.
And I, again, pure hipster choice, went with Littmanen because I think people will remember Littmanen, even though Lallana was a much better player for Liverpool than Jari Littmanen. I think people will remember Littmanen more fondly, and Mane to end it.
Oh, what a player.
So Dave Underwood in goal. Nat Phillips just, Cruyffing people to death, patrolling me one defender in there. Alonso and Littmanen pulling the strings for Sadio Mane to run amok.
That's decent.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know what Underwood's capable of.
I've got no idea what Underwood's.
He might be capable of like
50 appearances for Liverpool.
He might be capable of the overhead kicks that you were so renowned for.
Yeah, I mean, if it's five-a-side, he might not be. You're going to have to do it from inside the D. But yeah, I was reasonable. Once I knew I had Alonso in there, I was a big sigh of relief.
Well, you can sort. I mean, I'm not going to do mine right now. I'm going to get everyone to do theirs first. I'm going to put them into a big poll, and I'm going to have a little World Cup off and see who wins.
So, fair enough.
But you were the first entrant because obviously I've just thought of it, so we're going to throw it in for the episodes going forward. All right, lad, we'll leave it there. Nice one for jumping on.
Pleasure. Cheers.
Yeah, nice one, man. But that was episode 16 of Pod and a Pint. We'll be back next week with another episode. Obviously the Reds go to Fulham on Sunday, so we'll be talking all about that stuff, and hoping the Reds can just carry on winning. The easier and quicker we do it, the more time we've got to revel in the win and just milk it.
So many guards of honour.
You know what I mean? So it's the more we can get, the better. But nice one to Paul for jumping on and taking this time to come out. And nice one everyone for watching or listening, and we'll see you all very soon. Ta-ra.